Hey there, my friends. It has been a while since I sat down to record. I'm sure it doesn't seem like it, but all of the episodes you have seen up until this point were pre recorded before I had my daughter, Iris, and so I've been taking a little bit of time off, if you will, to finish pivoting things around Holy Surrender to make it sustainable for this season of life and to just enjoy transitioning to having 3 kids. On that note, today I really wanted to talk about Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1 through 11 because the whole concept of God making everything appropriate in His time has been on my heart a lot as the last finishing touches of the Holy Surrender plan have come together, and also because I just feel like it is such an important component of surrender that everything is done in God's timing and not in our timing. So today I want to share a little bit about what that means for you in your journey of surrender, and also give you the latest and hopefully final for this season updates about what Holy Surrender is becoming. Let's start by reading Ecclesiastes to give this whole conversation some context. I love these 11 verses and I reflect on them often because you just never know what life is going to bring you, and God has designed it that way very intentionally, and I cling to these verses knowing that His plan is good and He is working it until it gets exactly where He wants it to be, or I have learned what I need to learn and have surrendered what I need to surrender. So Ecclesiastes 1 through 11 says this: There is an appointed time for everything, and a time for every affair under the heavens, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot the plant, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to be far from embraces, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. What profit have workers from their toil? I have seen the business that God has given to mortals to be busied about. God has made everything appropriate to its time, but has put the timeless into their hearts, so they cannot find out from beginning to end the work which God has done. I think that's so important for my own life because I sometimes think in a very black and white manner, and I go, okay, we're doing this thing, which means it's going to be this way forever, or this should be the routine, or I have this expectation of God. And I'm learning very much what the saints meant when they said to live in the present moment. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past. Live in the present moment because it holds God's plan and it holds His will. And I've heard many saint quotes about this, but I think maybe having 3 kids really brought the reality of it to my mind. Forgive me, I'm a little slow. My postpartum brain and talking has been terrible this week, so if I sound rambly or slow, just bear with me. My brain is still rewiring itself for its new job. This is my training season, so it will be what it will be. And that's part of the beauty of this, is that I get to surrender the fact that this is not going to be perfect, and God will make it appropriate to His time. He will bring back my quick wit or my words when my brain has fully been rewired for 3 children. But anyways, I digress. That I sometimes think very black and whitely, and I think there are a lot of personalities that do. And we have to understand that sometimes we have to sit in the suck, and sometimes we have to sit in the fun stuff, and it will not be the same way forever. There's a time to be born, there's a time to die, there's a time to weep, there's a time to laugh. There are seasons of life. There are times to embrace and to be far from embraces. And we can't cling to an expectation that things will be the same forever. If they were the same forever, we would either already be perfectly sanctified and be ready for heaven, or we wouldn't grow and we wouldn't get closer to God on the other end of the spectrum. We would be stagnant exactly where we are if things never change. And it can feel safe to not embrace change, but that's not how God has called us to live. And in the spirit of embracing change, here's my little testimony. This is what's happening right now for me. I just wrote a Substack article on this. I'll link it below, talking a little bit about how Holy Surrender got to where it is today. But I've thought that it's very important in this business to do as God is asking me and not as the world expects me to be, because He alone called me to do this, and He alone will see me through it. And I am going to go through so many seasons. When I started the Encouraged Momcast, I had just had my second kiddo, and I was going through ministry school. And that is where I really felt the calling to do this. And then we shifted into Holy Surrender, and I had someone doing the podcast with me for a while. Things looked very different. And now I have 3 kids, and all of my friends, all of the wise mothers in the generation above me remind me often that this is the gauntlet of parenthood. You don't have any helpers yet. You have 3 little people who all need you, usually at once. And that means that your bandwidth to do other things, the self-sacrifice that you are giving, is to your children, to show them the love of God through your actions and through your attentiveness to them. My priority is not scaling a business massively or anything like that. So most recently, like I said, I batched all of the episodes up to this point. And what happened in the couple of months since I batched the last episode is deciding that I will no longer be doing a physical magazine, because I cannot physically keep up with the work schedule required to produce a 50-plus page publication every 3 months. However, I asked the Lord, I prayed about this, and I have pivoted over to my Substack, which has existed. That's where you receive my newsletter if you're on the email list. And now it will include a library of resources that I provide a couple of times a month that you can access when you subscribe annually for $45 or for $5 a month. And this is where I will also send out a monthly guide starting this August, when this last May, June, July magazine runs its course. And it will be like having a mini magazine. You'll still get the liturgical calendar and prayer activations and theological articles and practical how to bring this into your life stuff. And in fact, I'm praying that it's even a more focused way to receive that information than getting 3 months all at once. And I think it'll be much more manageable. I feel so much peace about writing a couple of articles a week to send to you guys. I feel a ton of peace about doing a little monthly guide, because I feel like I can be really intentional with each month's subject and what I'm sending out to you. We can cover virtues more deeply. We can cover living life in the Lord more deeply. I will still include testimonies, and each one will be unique, not an exact formula of the exact same 7 to 10 pages every time. You will have the liturgical calendar in every one. That will remain the same. But the theological articles, or the little resources we make, or the little practical application practice opportunities that we offer, will all be unique depending on what the Lord leads us to share. So now that it is just me doing this is what the Lord, I think, has slowly been teaching me, slowly leading me to, is that this is what is appropriate for this time, because I only have so much bandwidth to produce these things. But I also know that if I stopped doing this, I would crave coming back and recording. I'm so excited to be here and recording again. I've been looking forward to it. And my parents are holding my newborn as I do this. So it's also this little time that I get with you guys and myself, and time that grandparents get to hold the baby, which they love. So I'm taking this time in stride. This is where the Lord is calling me to be. You now also have an opportunity to subscribe monthly to see if it's resonating with you, if you like it, without committing to a full year or an individual issue. And it's like the cost of going out to get an ice cream cone. And you can treat your soul to these fun little resources and these deep dives to just help you grow and be impactful in your sphere of influence. Because that's how we're going to turn the tide of the culture, is by building each other up, growing in our gifts, and helping others realize where God is calling them to be in their lives. So I want you to ask yourself, where is God calling you to be present right now? What is he making appropriate to his time? Because your expectations for what is appropriate right now might not necessarily be what he's calling you to, and that's okay. So I want to encourage you this week to just go to prayer and ask him, Lord, what is appropriate to this time right now? Do I need to sit in this struggle and the suffering, which is hard? Do I need to sit in the joy and receive it and prepare for the next season of suffering? Do I just need to be in the in-between? Is that where you're calling me? Because he is working something bigger than we realize in every single moment of every single day. And if I had known this is where I would land when I started this, I don't know if I would have gone through with it, because it's been hard and it's been good and it's been stretching and growing me in ways that I never thought imaginable. I am so much more confident than I was starting out. There's just so many things that have happened, and God always makes a way. And that was the one thing he assured me when I started, was that there was a way and he would make it. So friends, stay attentive to his heart, because he is making everything appropriate to this season for you. We just need to ask him exactly what that is. Hey friends, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Holy Surrender podcast. You can find everything that we're doing over at www.holysurrender.com. There you'll even find the link to my Substack, where I am sending out a newsletter every Sunday and every other Thursday. Sundays are free, and Thursday always includes a resource of some kind in our resource library, reserved for those of you who subscribe annually for $45 or monthly for $5. And you can even find all 6 magazines in the archives there as well. So go over and check all of that out. Check out our shop on Etsy, see if you want some merch, or you can still purchase the old versions of the magazine, physical or digital, individually. Also, this podcast is sponsored by NAP Ministries, who are out evangelizing, helping those in need, helping the homeless, and helping those come back to the church and evangelize their neighborhoods, so that we can bring the kingdom to greater glory locally. Go check out what they're doing over at NAP Ministries.